Hey guys, this recap and review of season 1 of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives is brought to you by the top tier members on Patreon and YouTube memberships. If you are interested in gaining a membership, there is an initial tier that gives you access to a podcast I do every 2 weeks where I cover every show and movie and book and like just any media I've engaged in. And the top tier gets you access to that podcast as well as gets you voting rights for a video once a month that will appear on the main channel, and this month's is a recap and review of season 1 of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. So if any of that interests you, please check out the links below. Now let's get on with the review. We are just going to go by character and work through the season, just things that jumped out to me, character analysis, like funny moments, etc. So let's start off with kind of the queen bee, it seems, of Mum Talk. This is Taylor. She's the central figure of the season. She ignites kind of the season's drama with this whole soft swinging scandal. Now, they kind of explore this a little bit, but not too much. It's actually like really expanded upon in season 2. But essentially, despite creating Mum Talk, she's like a point of controversy. And what I find interesting about this first season is it really drops you in like a strange place. Essentially, they've gone super viral simultaneously for Mum Talk being created, but also this like insane sex drama. And this show, at least the impression I got, this show is seemingly created off the back of all this like controversy. It's like, oh my god, these Mormons are having swinging parties. Oh my god, the viral group of mums, they're going all this controversy. Here's a show and we're going to like springboard off that controversy. So this first season has like a very chaotic energy that I appreciate. I was talking to my cousin about this. She disagrees with me. I like how much this show acknowledges that they're in a reality show, like the cast members and the show structure itself. And the reason I say this is I was absolutely floored in the first episode when there was a break because Taylor had a domestic dispute, like a domestic assault charge laid upon her between her and Dakota. I thought this was I thought it was insane they included it. The footage they managed to include was crazy. It also gave me a really interesting impression of Taylor. I didn't hate her or see her as this horribly violent person, but I did see her as someone who is in a toxic relationship, is exploding in this moment. And I admired her honesty, truthfully. I admired her owning her bit and not twisting it on Dakota. The story sounds like Dakota, I don't want to say caused it, but was also doing some insane unhinged shit like locking her in a room or something. So I was surprised he didn't get charged, but maybe it was just her honesty, or maybe she was the more serious perpetrator. I'll need to look into it. But it was a really fascinating moment that kind of pricked my ears up for this show. And I think the bigger thing that pricked my ears up was the fact that then we take a massive break. It feels like the show seemingly was delayed by this, because when we pick up in episode 2, she's now heavily pregnant. There's been a substantial time jump. Dakota has managed to impregnate her, and now they're really stuck in this toxic relationship. I find Dakota and Taylor a bit of a tough watch. On the surface, like, Dakota really sucks, and throughout season 1 and 2, he will have moments where he's just the worst. I did like him a bit more in season 2, but in season 1, he's just kind of a schlub and kind of a deadbeat. But at the same time, there's a certain point where I am sort of seeing there being like, Taylor needs to make up her mind. That's like when I'm hearing him sort of complain about, we need to be official or we don't. I need an answer or we don't. There's a child coming into this world that I want to be able to support and raise with you. These are serious things now and we need to move. Yes, it can feel like a manipulation tactic, but I'm also just like, no, this is a serious thing. This isn't a casual thing. And I kind of get that if he's 50% of the child, like, he does want to kind of like get things moving and not stay in this drama. But at the same time, I'm sort of like, is this all just a manipulation tactic to get out of being held accountable? All in all, though, I do think, interestingly, I think Taylor's portrayal in season 1 and 2 is a alarmingly honest one. I think she is incredibly flawed. She does kind of make decisions where you are scratching your head, even like, and you can see that in the initial scene where she's talking about whether she's having a miscarriage or the fact that she's pregnant again with the mum, and the mum's like, oh my god, what are you doing? It's always something. Like, it feels like this is a consistent thing of Taylor just been involved in drama, whether accidental or whether it's a product of her upbringing. And I think the way the show kind of Fly on the Wall demonstrates this without passing too much judgment. I admire. I do appreciate kind of how messy Taylor is as our lead character and how honest the portrayal is. It's not always an easy watch. There are times where you're scratching your head in complete disagreement with her, but I also think there's something really authentic that makes the show very, very watchable. The big thing in season 1 is essentially Dakota's cheating rumors, right? And on one end, I do completely understand it, right? It's a test of honesty, it's a test of loyalty. But at the point where they're having a child, I think two things can be true. I think Dakota is being sneaky, is being shady. He was being a fuckboy when they started, but I do kind of get what he's saying, where he's like, hey, like that was then, and we were both kind of fucking about and being a bit loose with everything, and I was a bit dishonest. We're having a baby now. Things have developed. Like, the person I was back then is not the person I am now. Like, we kind of need to work past it. And I think full transparency would have been ideal on Dakota's part. But I also kind of simultaneously understand that if she was like, if there was anything else, I'm leaving you, you would probably sit there and be like, is it worth clarifying that we also snuggled in bed and not just made out? Maybe not. I'm just going to leave it. Like, I know that's really, really, like, I acknowledge that's kind of shitty of me. But I think in that moment, and I think given the fact that they are having a child, for me, I didn't really think the technicality was enough to end it. In my opinion, if you can deal with having domestic violence incidents with someone, if you can deal with them, like, you know, being completely dysfunctional and manipulative and gaslighty and coming off addiction and dealing with all these insane things, the sort of like extra detail, the extra... To me, the extra detail of, oh, we were under the covers for a bit, but we didn't have sex, and like the big physical thing was kissing. I'm just sort of like, I don't know, you're having a child now. Either like leave his ass, or you kind of need to start co-parenting, because the big thing with Taylor is it's this constant will they, won't they, but not in a romantic way. It's sort of like, I either need Dakota out of my life completely, or I want to be with him, and it just kind of goes around in circles. And on one end, it can be frustrating as an audience member, but again, I think it's a really honest portrayal of what toxic relationship cycles feel like. I just think at a certain point, something needs to change. And I think the characters around Taylor do kind of suggest that, but it's not received particularly well. Next, I have Whitney. Bro, Whitney is the biggest cringe lord. Whitney is IMO, a very ugly person. Like, not physically, but like in her heart, in her core. Are there any Whitney fans? Are there any Whitney defenders? Like, truthfully, even if you're a fan of this show, if you got to bump into her, would you be excited? Because I wouldn't. I would walk the other way. I don't think I've seen anyone cringier in a reality show. She is a tough watch. First off, I'd actually heard about her before the show doing that dance, the Kendrick Lamar song, while her child was potentially dying or like very sick. Bro, her defenses here are just someone in complete denial. Just be like, yo, I was fishing for clout. I look back on it now and it's cringe. It was a really, really strange thing to do. I don't know what I was thinking. But instead she keeps sitting there being like, I was just like trying to make a moment out of, like, I don't even know. And on top of that, she has the gall at one point to, very slut-shamey, by the way, can I just say, but she has the gall at one point to be like, oh, I'm just mad because everyone's forgiven Taylor about the whole swinging scandal thing and not me for dancing while my child is potentially on the brink of death. I'm like, these are not comparable. It also has a massive air of like slut shame, but it's also just like, no, like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, okay. Like, first off, she was actually dragged through the mud. Secondly, at the end of the day, like, yes, it goes against the religion a bit, but it was a consensual encounter. You're sitting there dancing with your sick child. And now you're jealous, clearly not jealous of Taylor being forgiven. You're jealous of Taylor's clout. Everyone wants to be the queen of Mormon mum talk. And oh my God, I just could not stand her. And she doubles down on everything. There's also this other beef she has with Taylor where her husband, Whitney's husband, is like, yo, I've got a corn addiction. And she's like, ah. And then it turns out, no, it's not a corn addiction. It's not just like he's sneaking off from bed to beat it to like, you know, My Little Pony or anything. He's sneaking out of bed to sext other, like, real life women. Real life women. It's not a corn addiction. He's emotionally and cyberly cheating is what he's doing. But the issue is Whitney goes along with her husband's downplaying, right? She frames it as, oh, he's just addicted to corn. And like, truthfully, the majority of our generation of men are addicted to corn. I'm not saying that means it's okay or it doesn't have an impact on partners, but what I am saying is when you deliver the information, my husband's addicted to corn, a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, join the queue. I'm not sleeping with that fucker anymore either because he's always jerking it, right? And the reason I say that is she gets really, really annoyed that at one point in the conversation, Dakota starts talking about her problems. And I've seen the scene multiple times. And I think Dakota, I think they edited it misleadingly, but to me what it felt like was Whitney gathered everyone to talk about this, and she delivered it pretty low key. And then when the conversation felt like it was done, Taylor then went, yeah, I'm going through this. And then Whitney has been like, oh my God, the whole hangout wasn't about me. It's like they already talked about your stuff. God forbid someone else talks about something. It like the way Whitney talks about it is as if Taylor literally just cut her off mid-sentence. But it's also like if you want something treated with the severity you want it to be treated with, maybe don't deliver it in a downplayed manner. You know what I mean? Like she seems to be really thrown, but it's like, from their POV, you kind of just make it sound like he's a little addicted to porn, which is like, you know, not great, but also not on the level of like emotional cheating. And you didn't really convey how awful it was. So, you know, and I also think like you're allowed to catch up. Someone's allowed to voice their problems and then someone else is allowed to be like, here's what's going on with me. Just strange. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. Then she doesn't show up to Taylor's baby shower, I think it was. She doesn't show up to Taylor's baby shower, which was weird as fuck to do. Like, just mean. And then she doesn't show up to Macy's business launch, which feels even meaner and more jealous and more petty. And then she leaves the Mormon wives group chat, which all of them are obviously just like, okay, good riddance, you fucking cringe lord. And then after they all decide to unfollow her because she doesn't come to Macy's business launch, that she then shows up to Michaela's birthday, like obviously knowing what she's doing, and acts weird as shit. And it's like, oh my God, no one wants me here. And Michaela, low-key, Queen Michaela, I love that she's not having any of it. Other people are talking about like maybe forgiving. Even in season 2, Michaela is like, no, I am not forgiving her. Fuck that. And I love that in this season, Michaela's the one that's like, this is weird. Like, why are you here? What are you doing? This is my big day. And you've just come here and made it about you again. I fuck with Michaela hard. I don't know what was going on with Whitney this season. She was less of a tough watch in season 2, but in season 1, bro, I feel like I have the 1,000-yard stare after witnessing Whitney in season 1. It was just painful and Macy. I really like Macy. I really, really like Macy. I just like her. Straight up. She confronts Dakota about his treatment of Taylor and later informs Taylor about rumors of his infidelity. So yeah, Queen Macy. All right. She's crushed it in business. She's very well-spoken and in my opinion, like very smart. And not in a way that feels calculated. She's just on it. And she goes to Dakota. Actually, no, Dakota asked to meet with her to like kind of like, you know, clearly like PR control and do some correction, some course correction on the whole cheating rumors. And she starts talking to him and he's like, oh my God, I can't believe you didn't like tell anyone. Sorry, I can't believe you didn't come to me before telling someone. Like, what are you doing? Like, you could have come to me and I could have sorted. And she's like, I'm not loyal to you. I'm loyal to Dakota. Like, I'm happy to talk about it now. I thought she just nailed it. She's just a good vibe, very good vibe, like her. And yeah, her whole brand launch was completely overshadowed by Whitney's absence. And it really like kind of beefs up how much of an outcast Whitney is going to be. And I don't know. I like Macy. I think Jessie, now she organizes this trip to Chippendales. That's her big contribution for season 1. And this trip to Chippendales really brings out the worst in the husbands. I think Dakota's interesting because he's kind of at an in-between. You've got the really chill, secure husbands, right? Like the really hot guy. Was it Brett? The guy from The Bachelor that's with Demi. You've got the really chill guys that are just like, ugh. Let girls be girls. Let them have fun. Whatever. They've got me to come home to. Then you've got Dakota, who's in the middle, right? And Dakota was like trying not to lose his shit and not doing a very good job. He was kind of sitting there being like, oh, I'm just really worried about Taylor being pregnant and all these big muscly guys dancing on her in case, like, you know, it hurts my pregnant wife. And it's like, is that what you were worried about? Or were you a bit kind of jealous, insecure? And that's fine. Like, you're allowed to be, but like, is it really the health of my pregnant wife? But he's kind of in between. He seemingly in a roundabout way is confessing that he's just a bit insecure. And truthfully, I think you're allowed to be insecure. Hot take, I don't know. Like, I don't think the way Zach, for example, goes about controlling the situation is ideal. But I think for both parties, like, I think if I wanted to go to a strip club and my fiance was like, yo, that doesn't make me feel good, don't do that. That's a valid discussion to have. All right. Now, if she then said I am a worthless piece of shit that deserves nothing but happiness and I'm going to get like fucking divorced or pre-divorced, bit different. But I think also on top of that, there needs to be an acknowledgement that it's not just like Jenna and Taylor just went, oh, we're going to go to a strip club and like grind on all these dudes and essentially like cheat. All right. Like, they were invited by Jesse. They're really just sitting in a crowd watching shirtless men dance for a bit. Like, there's not that much difference of them turning on Magic Mike, if I'm being completely honest. And I think Zach's crash out here is very telling. And you know what? This is a hot take. I don't hate the idea, I don't hate these men for being traditional Mormons and wanting traditional Mormon wives. Like, we can rant about religion till the cows come home, but if they want a very devout religious Mormon wife and then someone comes up to them and goes, yes, I'll be your devout Mormon wife, I get that they're going to have a bit of whiplash when all of a sudden they're like, let's go to the strip club. It's fine. I actually think he's allowed to say, hey, I don't really like the strip club thing. It's kind of a point of compatibility I want us to agree on. In future, would prefer not, and just leave it, you know? And if she keeps pushing that, you know, maybe there's another discussion to be had. But the way he guilt trips her, especially for the fact that she didn't like willingly go and didn't do anything and was just kind of invited along, especially given the fact that she's on a reality show where they kind of need to do a bunch of group activities. He just had no chill, no level of understanding, completely degraded her and belittled her and really just showed like an ugly side to him. You know, I found him really repulsive, truthfully. So was not impressed with Jenna's husband, Zach, if I'm being completely honest. Next, we have Layla. She has like a divorce party. Her big arc through season 1 and 2 is that she's never climaxed with a partner. I'm not sure if she's never ever climaxed. I think they have a discussion around sex toys where she reveals like, I haven't at all. But her big thing is kind of reaching her first O, particularly with a partner after coming out of a marriage where the guy seemingly did not know how to navigate those things well. On top of that, I think there is a really interesting, gross discussion with Whitney to her mum about sexuality. Hear me out on this one. I have no issue with like daughters and mothers talking about sexuality. Go nuts. I also have no issue with Whitney feeling like the way she was raised kind of led to her having some complexes around sexuality. But I think it's kind of, I found her chat with her mum rather uncharitable, if I'm being honest. Like, Whitney is also someone that is currently practicing Mormonship, also has dated practices and beliefs that probably that are gonna age like milk in 5 to 10 years. And I think for her to have no chill, no empathy at her mum, and just be like, oh, you raised me to be scared of this stuff. Like, are you going to apologize? I was like, this is really hostile, especially given the fact that she's raising her child in a Mormon household and is going to carry on practices that, yes, maybe aren't as sexually stigmatizing, but still demand extreme control of personalities and limitations on what they can and can't do. And I'm like, I'm surprised if you're a devout Mormon, you're not also acknowledging like that, you know, I don't know. I just felt like it was a bit hypocritical. And also just like, there could have been a nicer version of that discussion. Like, the mum was actually trying to be like, no, you're right, I apologize. And Whitney's seen there being like, well, are you going to apologize, mum? Are you going to apologize on camera right now? Are you going to do it? And it's also like, you know what? Yes, it is based in Mormonship, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. Not everyone probably wants to talk about vibrators on TV. Like, yes, there is probably some hangups there, but she's also allowed to just want to opt out of the conversation. And some people will have the view, like, outside of religion, a lot of people are going to have the view of like, just have sex with each other. You don't need XYZ extra toy. All right. Like I had a guy in school who had a flashlight and his girlfriend went off her tree. And I'm like, he then indulged that conversation and went, yeah, okay, you're right. I hear you out. Gonna throw it out. And I'm not saying either party of that is valid. I'm just saying things are more complicated than the way Whitney presents it. There is no right answer consistently throughout these things. And yeah, I just thought Whitney's like, you're allowed to say, like, oh, mum, the way you raised me led to me being a bit stigmatized by this stuff and have like a mature conversation. But the way Whitney went about it was like, apologize. Apologize right now on camera. I want you to own what you did. And it's like, is Whitney going to own the bullshit she did to her kid? Is she going to own the fact that she was dancing while her child was like unwell? No. Is she going to own the fact that she's going to raise her child in a religion that just kind of instills patriarchal values and like does kind of like lead to a sense of control and adds a bunch of stigma around a bunch of different things? No. So it's like, I don't know. I just feel like she needed a bit more understanding. Like her mum is from a different time. Her mum was clearly also raised that way. It's not ideal, but like, I don't know. I always like, it's a thing that comes up nowadays where there just seems to be this lack of ability to go, you know what? Like, I understand, like, if your parents were seriously, seriously awful and intentionally so, like, yeah, have a go at them. But there seems to be so much rhetoric nowadays of like, just everything was my parents' fault and they definitely did intentionally and they need to answer for this. And there just seems to be a lack of being like, oh, they're human too. They made mistakes. They probably didn't need that. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video, everyone. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Also consider those memberships that I mentioned at the start of the video. Thank you so much for watching and have a lovely day.